Hello everyone, Unknown Reefer here, bringing you another fish review. Now, apologies if I start coughing and spluttering in this video. I've got a stinking cold at the minute, so I will try and power through. I've also got a different phone because I smashed my last one, so this is a cheapy one, so we'll have to see what the video quality is when it's all uploaded. If it's rubbish, then I'll just have to try and use my smashed up phone as a camera. Now today I'm bringing you a review for powder brown and powder blue tangs. Now I've grouped them together because they're obviously very similar fish, same sort of subspecies of tangs, I believe. But what you will notice is that there isn't any in my tank. There is purple tang there, and I've recently purchased that Regal, but there's no powder browns or powder blues in the tank. The reason for that is they are absolute ick machines. Not magnets like most tangs are that will obviously get ick really easily and haven't got high resistance to it because they've got thin slime coats. Powder browns and powder blues act as breeding nests for the ick. So I've had ick in this tank, and I've done a video about my experience with ick. I do still have ick. That Regal's been in the tank about a week now. It's had 4 or 5 spots come up on it, and I think we'll have a look. But I think they're gone now. Yeah, it's got a little mark next to its head, but it had that when I bought it. Yeah, so most fish I've found you put in, they'll get a little bit of ick. As long as you keep them well fed and don't stress them out too much, they'll be happy. And they'll get over it. Whereas powder browns and powder blues will get absolutely covered in it. They'll go in from the shop with no signs of it, but if you've got any ick in your tank, if you're just living with managing it rather than completely eradicating it, which is what I do because I'm lazy, if you put a powder brown in or a powder blue in, they will get ick, and then they will actually spread it. They'll act as a factory for it. They'll get covered in it, it'll clear up, and then it'll come back. There's a cycle of it. Obviously it comes out the sand, latches onto the fish, feeds on the fish, goes back into the sand, multiplies, comes back out. The powder brown and powder blues are perfect hosts for it in the home aquarium, shall we say, and they will just cause ick to go absolutely mental in your tank. And now there's been a lot of fish that I've had in my tank for years, introduced powder brown, and I lost several of them because they got ick. Now, they'd obviously had ick or had exposure to ick in my tank before, but it had never been at any levels where it would actually kill them. Might irritate their scales and their skin or whatever for a little while, but ultimately they would be alright. Things like mandarins in particular, because they live in the sandbed, they are they've got a thicker slime coat, so they tend to be a bit more resilient to it. But even mandarins I've lost to ick, but only when I've had a powder brown or a powder blue in, because they give the ick a place to feed, to go back down, multiply. Once they multiply, come back up, feed, and then they can go off, and then you can just basically overwhelm the fish immune system. They get into the gills and the fish die. So although powder browns, powder blues are an easy fish, they're quite a peaceful fish. The powder blue and brown both got on with my purple tang Pedro, and purple tangs are known to be one of the most aggressive, but they just didn't, even though they weren't that stressed out, they just got absolutely covered in ick. The powder brown was attacked a bit by the fox face I had at the time, but that stopped after 2 days, and it was going well. Any signs of ick or whatever had cleared up, and then over a month, couple of cycles of ick, it just wiped my tank out, and eventually both the powder brown and powder blue died. Oh look, they'll have a little swipe at each other now, as they do. But it seems to be those particular tangs, as I say, touch wood, The Regal's been okay. He's been in about a week and a half. Yeah, a week, maybe 2 weeks now actually. And the Purple Tang, I've had him over a year now, well over a year. In fact, probably 2 years now. So he's had ick in the past and he's got over it. As I say, it only seems to be there's Pad Browns, Pad Blues, probably have some of the similar ones. Just such a good host for it. It just goes crazy in your tank, and as soon as they die off, within 2 or 3 days, it goes back into sandbed, goes back into hibernation because the fish's immune systems aren't weak enough for it to take hold, and there's just not the populations take hold. So, yeah, if you are going to go powder brown, powder blue, I would quarantine, but not just the fish. I would make sure you've quarantined everything that goes into your tank, all your rock work, sand, all your fish. It's all been quarantined. And go through all those precautions. Run a massive UV on it just in case, because sometimes it just gets in. And just be really on top of it. But my personal opinion, after trying both types, the brown and the blue, I would just pick another Tang. I know they're nice and they're reasonably cheap, but I would just pick another fish if I'm honest. They're so prone to it. You are running a risk. So hopefully that video's helped. If anybody's thinking about getting one, let me know down in the comments.